Farmers in South Australia and Western Victoria are battling what's now been described as the worst drought since the 1960s, and they've slammed the Victorian state government's drought relief package. That was announced this week, I think yesterday, saying it's, quote, nowhere near enough. The Allen government committed today to allow more Victorian farmers access to drought funding, revealing what's a $15.9 million in emergency funding. At the same time, that same government is intending to apply an emergency services levy statewide that many, if not most, can't afford to pay. Joining us now, President of the National Farmers Federation, David Jochinke. Great to see you again. David, give us the bad news. How bad's the drought in Western Victoria? And as I said, I went up to Bendigo this week, the mid-north and over into South Australia.
Still this drought, Steve, and probably in South Australia, we've got areas that are coming into their third season now of having below average rainfall. And anybody who knows anything about agriculture, has grown grass or has their own veggie patch out the back, understands that if you don't have water, you can't grow anything. Be that pasture for your livestock, crops or hay, it makes it really impossible to make anything happen. But we're seeing everywhere from northern Tasmania, southern New South Wales, across all over South Australia, and even parts northern of in WA, all being affected by this dry stretch we're having, but let alone some areas are getting multiple seasons, and the more acute areas are definitely in the South Australian Mallee and the Western districts of Victoria, which are having unprecedented dry. And for those who have either got livestock or dairy farms in these areas, they've essentially run out of water, they're running out of feed, and are at critical situations where, quite frankly, they need help now.
I've got to say, David, it seems to me that this drought, particularly for people who live in the cities, has crept up on people. I mean, I think the media is starting to report it now, but it hasn't been widely reported. And one of the other issues, of course, is that, you know, while Victoria and South Australia and parts of Tasmania are so dry, it seems to have rained almost every day in Sydney and parts of southeast Queensland over the last 3 or 4 months.
Well, we are a nation of droughts and flooding rains, and if nothing else, this shows you the contrast and the difficulties it is to be in agriculture, to run farms, because you don't know from season to season what you'll get, and you've got to make the best decisions you can for the season that you have. And you compare, as you said, the drought to the devastating floods that we saw in the Channel regions in Western Queensland and the devastation that's had. And even to the fact of the fires that we've had in Victoria earlier this year, that those are immediate problems. You can see that quite drastically from comparison of one day to the next and what that means. But in a drought, it's insidious. It strangles communities. It absolutely devastates those people off the land, those farmers who are trying to make the best decisions they can. They don't have the option to irrigate. They don't have the option to be able to turn on a tap to alleviate their situation. They just have to make the best decisions, look after their livestock, try to grow what they can with what they have, but essentially ride out this period. Now, they can't do that without good government policy. They can't do that without support when it gets into the second and third season, which is what we are seeing now.
Yeah, I heard a beef farmer during the week talk about the price of grain to feed his stock. It's just gone through the roof, hasn't it?
Yeah, and not only has it gone through the roof, Steve, we're actually getting to the stage where you can't get hay. There is no hay locally in this area. There is no local fodder to have. So they're having to search further afield and look for alternatives. And so when we talk about what can be done, and what does this, first of all, mean to people who aren't on the land? First of all, it's going to make the supply of goods tougher, in not only for this short-term period where we're seeing people quit stock. It means that they're quitting their breeders. It means that the next year's production of livestock will be more challenging for them to get back where they were. It means that the price of milk, the dairy farmers who are absolutely facing a tough period now, will need to have to reflect that cost of production. Otherwise, we'll lose that capacity in Victoria. And in the longer term, which is the real devastating part of droughts, when these longer term scenarios play out and we lose people from the industry, we lose capacity in dairy, we lose capacity in our livestock production. That means that prices will go up in the long term, and it means that our ability to have the choice that we all enjoy in the supermarket will become limited, and it will make us more vulnerable to events that are seeming to occur more often, these droughts and floods and fires, because we'll have less people, we'll be relying on less people, we'll be relying on a very fragile supply systems because we don't have that volume that we currently enjoy now. But when we talk about what can be done, there are some simple policy settings that we should be looking at, and that is making sure we can get high productivity vehicles on the road so that we can shift more things quicker. We should be able to look at programs where we are getting interest-only loans from government that are a reduced rate to provide working capital to farmers so that they can afford this short-term gap of either trying to feed or even water infrastructure without asking them to find money themselves, of which what we are seeing in this current scenario of support being a $1-for-$1 schemes that are asking farmers who are already in drought, who have no money, to put finances in for infrastructure that probably should have been done pre-drought. The challenge always is how much planning should we do beforehand? What is resilience, and how can you ever predict two, and in once again South Australia's situation, up to 3 years of drought in a row?
I feel for the farmers. David, I hope you're getting a good hearing in Canberra. Thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure to catch up with you.